All right, Mac, take us over to your best bet for the Saturday card in the association. Where are you taking us, my friend?
So I'm guessing the number that's going to be available to most of you guys in the Brooklyn Nets versus the Detroit Pistons game. I'm going with the Nets team total under, and sometimes I would just assume a number because it's not necessarily out yet, but I rather play it a little safer and go under 105 and a half, currently available at DraftKings at minus 136. It's probably going to be 104 and a half. You can get plus money right now if you want to be dangerous, live dangerously like Austin Powers and go under 103 and a half. But I'm gonna make my best bet for the show to keep the winners rolling at 105 and a half. And just looking at the Brooklyn Nets side of the equation, the last 30 days, and they've gone into this kind of Major League, the movie, reverse tank mode where it's like we're really scrapping, even though they keep taking away our best players. They keep expecting us to lose. They keep trying to get the draft picks or move the team or whatever. So without D'Angelo Russell, who's been mysteriously sidelined, and without a lot of their weapons, last 30 days they've been 29th on offense, second worst. On defense, second best. So Rudy Fernandez, mucho props. The team is pretty decent in this stretch, losing most games, but their net rating on balance is better than average actually. So if it was just that side of the equation, I would think Brooklyn's offense, all things being equal, expect that to keep going. However, I love Detroit on the side here, and I think because of the disalignment between Brooklyn Nets offense and defense, we get a great bet just attacking their offense. Why do I like Detroit here? Well, the trend that I've picked up years ago and continue to bank on is that teams, when they win a lot of games in the NBA and they lose, it's not like, okay, well, the winning streak doesn't matter anymore. No, they immediately win the next game. Maybe they'll lose three after that, but they immediately win the next game. The trend I mean, maybe it will reverse itself in later decades, but it is decades long as of this point. 210 games, 58%. If you win seven plus games and then you lose in that next game, 58% ATS. You're flipping coins, nearly hitting 60% heads. Actually goes up to 59% when you're previously home and you're home again. So that's a good little subset of the section. And I think the Pistons are the perfect example of why this happens because there's so much excitement in the building. So many of those players, those veterans like Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris, that were also ran, suddenly they're on first take. Suddenly they're part of something that people are talking about. And this is a 100-degree, 180-degree turnaround. 100-degree turnaround would be impressive, but no, this one's 180 degrees. This team won 14 games last year, and now they're going to be the fourth seed maybe. So I think there's a lot of excitement to get them back on the horse. And they lost to a Nuggets team that's championship caliber. They were going to lose one of those games, but I think they come back, especially on defense. You can control that a lot more, um, and win this game comfortably. And by the way, so we talked about why the Nets offense has been much worse than their defense and why we expect that to continue. Why I like Pistons in general. A subset or a sub trend of this fact that when you win a bunch of games and then lose is that you're better on defense than offense. You look at the ATS record of this 58% trend. It's slightly positive, maybe not as positive as the 58% trend you would think was. It's plus one, but they're actually scoring less points than you would expect, meaning they're making up for that plus more on the defensive end. It's 100% because of intensity and what they bring on that side of the ball when they come back from a winning streak and start a new one. So uh, they're going to win this one and then maybe the next one, and that's what we call a winning streak. So we're going to bank this one with the Brooklyn Nets, 105 and a half points, getting a little insurance with the lane, the minus 136 under their team total. Any way you want to play it, I think it's going to come in for us.
Last season, the Detroit Pistons, excuse me, were 25th in defensive rating. This season long, have improved to the number 12 spot. And over the last 10 games, like I mentioned, Detroit Pistons up to number 3 in defensive rating there. So, and again, you mentioned, right, the some of the players not available for this Brooklyn Nets team. Look, they've been a fun story this season, led by Coach Fernandez, getting those guys ready to play. But this Detroit Pistons team has just been on another level. Like you mentioned, could get into the fourth spot in that Eastern Conference. And I think a lot of the credit that hasn't been given has to go to JB Bickerstaff for the way he's been able to get this team ready night in and night out. And I think that he got short end of the leash when he was with the Cleveland Cavaliers. But now he being here with this Detroit Pistons team has been an absolutely fantastic job thus far this
Well,
season. So
I
go
think
ahead.
a worthy sub story that you could say he got the short end of the lease. And usually when a coach does great, it's like obviously the other team should have kept him.
Yeah.
But if you look at the coach of the year race, it's got to be Kenny Atkinson
Yeah,
favored,
you're
and
right.
then and then JB Picker's staff number two probably,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Yeah, if JB, I mean, I think I could see JB Bickerstaff winning it if they end up really high seed, but not if the Cavs win 70 games. So we'll see.
That's funny because Kenny Atkinson right now over on DraftKings minus 600 to win coach of the year.
Right,
JB Bickerstaff is at plus 425.
best two
It's
coaches in the league.
yeah, and
Cleveland
it's
got
I mean,
both of them.
yeah, and then it just falls down after that. It's 30 to 1 for Emi Udoka, 35 to 1 for Taylor Jenkins, Mark Dagnall, Thunder 35 to 1. So that tells you the story there. All right, so there we go. Best bet from Mac and myself for the Saturday card. And I think that's going to do it here for this edition of the NBA podcast on RJ Bell's Dream Preview. Mac, anything else you want to mention to our loyal listeners before we go our separate ways?
I gotta put you on the spot because I'm
Go ahead.
seeing money dive in on the under in Milwaukee, Dallas. I've even seen the 227 and a half. So we hope that all the listeners get the best number out there, the 229, 228 and a half. But what's your buy? What's your? I think that was the best pick outlined on this show, and I've already given out to my clients. But what is your? Because this could be 223 in the morning when people are listening to this. What is your cutoff point? Like no Moss, I'll take my CLV and ride into the
I
sunset.
think it would be 226 for me would be the number there. So
I like that.
hopefully, yeah, I think that if the listeners will get to this early enough, right now I still see 228 and a half floating out there at DraftKings and some other books. So hopefully we can get the listeners can get to the best of the number on this. But again, 226, I think that Mac, you bring up a great point. Like, what's the cutoff? Because you and I, we talked about this after the pods and we've been holding these CLV tickets, but there's sometime, some place, maybe one of these walls behind me, I'm gonna start hanging up some of these CLV ribbons that we've been getting here, but unfortunately not getting to the window with but hey, um we're moving lines here. I'll say that much at least. All right.
Smart bookies listen to good podcasts.
There we go. All right, that's going to do it here for this edition of the NBA podcast, month of February in the books. And look, we're going to start going twice a week for the regular season, and then that'll carry us into the postseason, which I'm very, very excited for the NBA season. So stay with us. Appreciate all the listeners that have tweeted at us, slid into our DMs. Gotten a lot of great feedback from our listeners here. So keep those tweets coming. I love seeing it from our listeners here on the NBA podcast.